A new Jayber magic trick. Turrets are doing lots of damage. Turrets are gone. Turrets are still doing damage. Yo guys, what is up? Max in our first Descendant video, and today we are talking about Jayber. Now, Jayber just got fixed. There was a lot of things that were supposed to be scaling his damage that were not actually scaling his damage. However, with his fix came a new pretty funny bug that allows him to stack up like kind of an infinite amount of damage, so much so that it kind of breaks the game a little bit. It's not as crazy as it sounds, but I want to showcase it to you and kind of talk to you about Jayber and a little bit of like a build on him. I hope you guys enjoy the video. Let's get right into it. So this new like damage bug allows Jayber to just kind of overlap damage. So a big part of Jayber is that he can put down a turret. And then when you like enhance the turret or shoot it with your gun, I'm using engineering right now, you can give it an AoE. And if you currently right now get enough cooldown, you can actually stack AoE on top of AoE on top of AoE, which shouldn't be happening. And Jayber's turrets take damage every 0.3 seconds. So you end up getting a lot of damage ticks. I'm going to show you what happens when we start to put this turret on an enemy. So now our turret is in the enemies. As you can see, it's just doing its normal shots. If we hit my 3 ability, which is its enhance, now it's ticking. It's ticking, you know, very fast because we already kind of started doing the bug. But now I'm going to click this again. And as you just saw, the numbers just boom, like immediately, because now we've got enough cooldown where we can enhance his turret on top of an enhanced turret. And you can just kind of keep stacking them. Let's grab this thing so we get some cooldown. Now I'm going to do something that's very funny. We're going to remove the turret. So now there's no more turret that's dealing damage. We've gotten these enemies to tick for like minutes of damage with no turret. The more that you do it, like the more that you like just sit here and stack it up, you can just kind of like walk away and they're still taking damage. I think it has to do with the game like registering the damage, but it can't tick out the damage numbers fast enough. So it's registering the damage, but it's basically getting queued. Like the damage is basically getting queued. But it's a pretty fun bug. It works for mobbing really well. This doesn't make Jayber a crazy bossing Descendant. The turret still, in my opinion, just doesn't do enough damage quite yet to like really be an efficient boss killer. Even with this bug, however, it does some pretty crazy things for mobbing. And it's really cool to just see all the numbers. Now, in order for this to like work, you need the Transcendent module Turret Engineering. This reads, when using your skill, recover the HP of all summoned turrets and extend their duration. This is basically Jayber's like little gun, his multi-purpose gun. Normally, when you use this, you shoot the turrets, and then you can give them more duration, you can give them health, and you can give them that enhanced ability so that they do AoE. And this seems to not work without this Transcendent module. Basically, the turret engineering is allowing you, if you get enough cooldown on this, it's a 60-second cooldown. We've got it at 11 seconds right now, and that's without a multi-talented proc for another 20% cooldown, which obviously our turrets are going to be dimension. So we are getting multi-talented for another 20% cooldown. So you're able to spam this ability and basically stack up damage on top of damage on top of damage on the turrets. For the rest of the modules, we're obviously needing as much cooldown as possible. We're prioritizing cooldown over everything because cooldown is going to allow us to be able to stack those layers of damage. So we've got Nimble Fingers and MP Conversion for a ton of cooldown. We're using 2 focus mods, both non-attribute and dimension, so that we get more turret damage. We are sacrificing a little bit of damage for the cooldown, but once again, a lot of our damage is just from this skill kind of stacking on top of itself. We want skill expansion to get 92% range. Once again, one of the big issues with Jayber right now is honestly his max expandable range is 200%. That is, your base is 100%, so anything added is 100 plus that. So you only need one range mod. Skill expansion gives you 92%. You'd only need like 8% more range to hit range cap on his turrets, which, you know, they really should be able to scale in a larger radius to like keep up with some of these other Descendants that can just nuke an entire screen. But we're using skill extension for more duration so that it's just easier to keep up these buffs. Duration on Jayber does feel really, really nice. And then I've just got a little bit left over. I got a spear and shield for a little bit more skill damage. You could try to scale crit on Jayber if you were going like even more high investment than what I've currently spec'd right now. I've got 3 slots uncatalyzed, technically 4 slots uncatalyzed. But one of the things that's really tough about Jayber and scaling his damage is he has a base of 5% crit rate with a 1.3x crit multiplier. Crit is definitely a way that you can increase his damage because, you know, when we're ticking multiple times a second, crit rate can be pretty nice. With like 3 crit rate mods on, I think he gets to like around like 15% crit damage, which is not, or crit hit rate, which is not fantastic, but you know, it's something, and it's a way to scale his damage. And if we were investing more into him, that's definitely a route that you could go. I think another way to go is just to get some more quality of life and get a little bit of damage as well. So like for the last 2 modules, personally, I would go Iron Defense so that we get some defense and some extra modifier. And then in the last slot, I would honestly go for quality of life, something like an MP Collector, so that we can use his abilities more. He's definitely a mobber. You're killing lots of enemies. Getting mana back is super important. So those are the last 2 mods that I personally would go on him. Just in terms of like, you know, there's a lot of investment for not a lot of return with crit with him. So I personally would go an Iron Defense and MP Collector to round out this build. Now for a non-bugged build, this is how I set up my like other Jayber. We did a few testing trying to figure out how to get damage out of Jayber's turrets. And one of the things that we came up with that I think is really creative is actually using Decimator on him. Now, Decimator reads, when defeating an enemy inflicted with debuffs, skill power modifier gets +5 per defeated enemy for 10 seconds up to 10 stacks. At 10 stacks, this is 50% more modifier. On a lot of characters, that wouldn't matter, but Jayber has very low modifier on his turrets. It's basically 100 modifier. So Decimator is giving him 50% more damage. This one mod is giving him a ton of benefit. Now, you may be thinking, hey, Jayber doesn't apply any debuffs with his turrets, and you are absolutely correct. If you're just using the turrets don't self-debuff for themselves with this. However, it procs off of weapons. So, for example, we can take a weapon like the Enduring Legacy. There's a lot of weapons that can do this, but Enduring Legacy is obviously one of the strongest weapons. When you hit an enemy with the Enduring Legacy, you apply Quenching, which lowers enemies' fire resistance. By doing that, I'll show you an example real quick. Just by doing that, as you can see on the left side of my screen, I'll turn down the volume a little bit, we are now at 7 stacks of Decimator. Now we're at 8 stacks. We can kill this guy. Now we're at 9 stacks. And this allows us to get a massive damage increase on Jayber's turret. Now, another thing that's so cool about Jayber's turret is they snapshot this buff, meaning that as long as the turrets are alive, they will get this buff damage for forever. So my Decimator buff wore off. I don't need to upkeep it. I just need to stack it up once, and these turrets will keep the buff forever as long as, you know, I keep them alive and keep them going, and we can scale a bunch of duration on Jayber to kind of keep the turrets up and just constantly have them getting these like big Decimator buffs, which I think is really interesting. There is another mod that you can use on Jayber, which is Multitalented. Multitalented works also pretty well if you're going to go with a playstyle where you use the engineering gun a lot. Because with multi-talented, you can click the engineering gun. You'll get the singular buff, which is 30% increased damage. And then you can put down your assault turrets, and then they will get that snapshotted 30% buff. Decimator is 50%. And it's, you know, something that I thought was really interesting. Multi-talented, if you want to use the multi-purpose gun, it works a little bit better. But if you don't want to use the gun as much, Decimator works really well. And the reason I want to say, like, use the gun or not use the gun is because there's a trick you can use with Jayber to make his playstyle a lot more fluid. So with Jayber, you normally need to put the turret down, right? And then you pull out the gun, then you shoot the turret, and you kind of maintain the turret's, like, ability to do damage and keep it healthy with the gun out. I find it a little bit awkward, and obviously if you're pulling out the turret, the gun, you can't use your like normal weapons. One thing that you can do with Jayber is you put down his turrets and then you activate the 4. The 4 gives you a buff that lasts currently for 51 seconds, right? My ult is only on a 43-second cooldown, so it means that we have overhaul. Once we click the ult once, we have it on a infinite loop. We're always able to keep the overhaul buff active. The overhaul buff, when we have it, whenever we put a turret down, it will spawn enhanced. So we can put these turrets down, use our guns to kill enemies, and then if we need to move them, we can just click them again and then put them down again. And while overhaul is up, they will always be placed enhanced. And this is something that I started using that made me feel a lot more better about Jayber and his playstyle. As you can see, our ult is back up. We can just click it, get our overhaul, do the big damage. Our turrets will do their explosions. And now, for the next 50 seconds, anytime I place a turret, it is automatically dropping enhanced. And it is, you know, going to be able to, like, I'm just going to be able to click enhanced turrets all the time, 100% of the time. Now, if I, for example, snapshot with Decimator and I want a turret to stay alive for a longer period of time, we can absolutely pull out the gun and make sure that their buff stays up. And that is, you know, very easy to do. But it's a playstyle change that if you're just able to build enough cooldown and duration, you don't have to use the gun as much, which to me makes him feel a little bit better. And then you can also keep up using your gun and not constantly have to pull out the tool. The rest of the build, we're using attacking compulsion, which allows us to place 2 turrets down. You know, this Transcendent module just doubles your turret damage, which is pretty nice. Obviously, the healing turret is nice quality of life. And if you're going to go into bossing, because the turrets really just don't do much bossing damage, I would just normally just go for this like turret engineering setup where you can like buff them from afar and just keep your gun out all the time and not have to worry about pulling out the turret gun. And then with the normal build, this is mainly just purely focused on offense and mobbing with cooldown, with both like focus mods so that we get extra cooldown there, MP accelerant for more max mana and more duration, nimble fingers, skill extension, and skill expansion. All just things that make him feel very, very solid. The reactor, I've got a Python reactor with non-attribute and dimension boost ratios. That's definitely what you're looking for, with gold rolls for duration and cooldown. Duration, cooldown, boost ratios are all really nice things. You don't really need much else besides that. You're just going for the quality of life. In terms of weapons that synergize well with Jayber, you've got the Peacemaker. Peacemaker is a new weapon. You can farm it from Gluttony. The Peacemaker has the unique ability that whenever you use a dimension skill, you stack up non-attribute skill power, which Jayber directly benefits from. The only issue is Jayber doesn't really spam dimension abilities. And this weapon, while holding it, your skills cost 30% more. So while in theory it's a nice Jayber weapon, I just don't personally gravitate towards it because of the skill cost. And Jayber's also not like a dimension spamming character, but it is technically 30% more damage for Jayber and his abilities. Enduring Legacy with the debuffs and Decimator is just a great synergy. Enduring Legacy is, in my opinion, the strongest weapon in the game. Obviously, your turrets aren't dealing fire damage, but you are debuffing. And so that is a really cool synergy. And then lastly, the Python also works well. You debuff for non-attribute damage. So while you're shooting the Python, you're just debuffing for your turrets for them to deal more damage, which is really nice. There are some weapons that like you'd think could potentially be good, like the Secret Garden. However, the Secret Garden only buffs on tech ability use, and Jayber, despite using Only technology is not a tech descendant, so he can't really benefit from the secret garden. He doesn't have any custom resources, so he can't benefit from the dimension side of the weapon. Guys, that's going to do it for the video. I just wanted to do a quick little guide on Jayber and kind of show off his little bug thing that he's doing. And also, hopefully, from my opinions, I think Jayber still, even after these fixes, needs some serious love. I really would love to see some buffs towards him. He has a niche that he fills quite well, which is killing enemies that spawn in exactly one place. But besides that, in comparison to a lot of other Descendants, they just do a lot of things that he does, but better. And so the devs in a recent interview said that they are working on reworks for all of the Descendants that are not performing right now. We are getting a Freyna rework coming out with her in like a few weeks. And you know, they said that they're going to do Ultimate Descendants in the order that they joined the like Descendant Corp, and Jayber technically is up next after Freyna for an Ultimate. So if we are getting Ultimate Jayber next, I really do hope they show him some love, because on paper, he has some really cool things going for him. He just needs a little bit more damage. His turrets need a little bit more range. He needs a little bit more crit chance as a base. And I think he could really do some cool things. Guys, that's going to do it for the video. I hope you enjoyed. I will catch y'all in the next one. Take care. Peace.